Test your might. Test your might. Test your might.
Oh, those were good times, weren't they? Hi there, I'm Ned Realms, Head Corporate Interface Officer for NetherRealm Games, and I'm here to talk to you about all the exciting new plans that we have in store for Mortal Kombat 11. Now, not only are we bringing back several fan-favorite characters, such as Frost and Baraka, but also, we're bringing you a level of customization unlike anything that you've ever seen before. We've got more costumes, gears, icons, intros, outros, brutalities, and much, much more. And thanks to the trustworthy guidance of the people over at Warner Brothers Games, we're taking several of the lessons that we learned from the wildly successful fan-favorite game, Middle-earth: Shadow of War, to make the game even more enjoyable. You see, thanks to our 3 brand new forms of currency, augmentations, and consumables, we've created a system of unlocking items that's sure to last you for years to come. Now, look at this Liu Kang skin. How much time and energy would you be willing to spend to unlock this Liu Kang skin? Don't answer just yet, because thanks to our installment plan, you could be riding around this Liu Kang skin in a matter of—
excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I don't really know how to phrase this, but, is there a fighting game in here somewhere?
What? I don't know. Probably. Listen, you don't care about any of that. What you actually care about is the soul currency. Now, in order to open up a chest using the soul currency, you need 100 souls. How long do you think it'll take you to get 100 souls? Don't answer just yet, because I haven't even told you about the hearts. Now, how do you get hearts in this game? We could have made it easier for you if we tried. You get hearts by doing fatalities, and it's Mortal Kombat.
Here's our review of Mortal Kombat 11.
So, Mortal Kombat 11 is going to be kind of an odd game to review, because this game is packed with content. But very different content that's aimed at very different audiences. And because of that, I can see many different people buying this game for many different reasons, and some of those people are going to be ecstatic with what they find in here, and others are going to be sorely disappointed. Let's start by looking at this solely as a fighting game. Now, the Mortal Kombat formula has been growing and developing ever since it returned to the 2D setup of Mortal Kombat 9, and with this installment, I think it's safe to say it's faster than ever. Actually, it's not safe to say that, because many people have actually criticized this game, saying that it feels slower than it ever has before. But I think there's a reason why people are split on something that really feels like it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Because if you just look at the animations, it doesn't look like it's moving any faster. In fact, it oftentimes looks like it's moving slower than the previous games. However, the button inputs actually feel quicker than the previous games. Before this game came out, I went back and replayed through Mortal Kombat 10 to prepare myself, and in that game, if I wanted to do a 4-hit combo, I would input the button commands close to the same speed that the character was doing it on the screen. However, in this game, if I want to do a 4-hit combo, I will have to input all 4 button commands before the second hit is even done with its animation. And it's because of this that I think that some people can't decide whether or not this combat is faster or slower. Because if you think that the attack animations are regular speed, then you're going to think the button commands are way faster. But if you think the button commands are regular speed, then you're going to think the attack animations are much slower. It's kind of weird getting used to, but I do understand that some people are going to love this. And I'll admit, I actually prefer faster fighting games, but it is very off-putting to see my inputs not matching the animations and having to get used to the idea that my response time has to be perfect, or else I'll leave myself wide open to an attack that I would otherwise have been smart enough to catch. Basically what I'm saying is it feels like in this game, you have to think way in advance. You have to be 3 steps ahead of your opponent at all times, whereas in the previous games, it always felt like it could be more in the moment. But that's not a bad thing, it's just different. It just takes some getting used to. And luckily, this game does help you get used to that, because like most fighting games, it provides you with a tutorial mode, and I can honestly say, this might be the best tutorial mode I've ever seen in a fighting game. This starts off teaching you all the basics like you've never picked up a controller before, but as it went on, this tutorial got deep. Deeper than any training system I've ever seen. This teaches you about frame data, about how many frames an attack has on recovery or on activation. It teaches you what situations specific moves will be safe or unsafe in. These are all terms that you will hear constantly thrown around if you listen to members of the fighting game community, but this is the first time that I've seen a tutorial introduce you to so much of that terminology and so smoothly. I'm not saying it will make you a top tier player, but it'll get you closer than any other tutorial I've ever played. After you're done with this thing, you could actually go to EVO and, well, not compete, but understand what everyone was talking about. And after going through this, I was able to adapt to the changes in speed nicely, as well as the new mechanics like the crushing blows, which are very unique alternate versions to attacks that will do extra damage by simply being done in specific situations, or how you now have an attack and a defense meter that you can burn for special abilities, but you can only use each for specific purposes. You can't burn an attack meter for something that you need a defense meter for, and the X-ray moves from the last two games have now been replaced by fatal blows, which are immensely powerful attacks that can only be activated once in a fight and only when you're very low on health, which makes them a great way to completely turn the game around, but you have to know exactly when to use them. You have to think about them strategically. If you use your fatal blow on an opponent in the first round and they survive and still end up beating you, then you still have to win 2 matches against them and your most powerful attack is gone. Honestly, the pace at which I had to input buttons was frustrating at first, but after I got used to that, I came to appreciate this combat system for how it created something that felt very new. Something that required me to use my brain in battle in a way that I haven't in a Mortal Kombat game in years. And that's great! You want new games to make people think. You want to make your players very active with the gameplay. And this game does it while still creating something that's fun.
Did somebody say fun? Well, if you want to have the maximum amount of fun, then you want to go with our ultimate package, which comes with a starter of 7 different costumes and—
I will be with you in a second.
Oh, alright there, sport. You take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready. I'll always be here.
Now that the combat is out of the way, let's talk about what NetherRealm Studios has become known for over the past few years. Their story modes. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that between the last few Mortal Kombats and Justice 2, NetherRealm is probably making the best story modes in fighting games today. And after the massive cliffhanger of the last game, yeah, there was a lot riding on this installment. Raiden had been corrupted by the evil of Shinnok. Revenant Liu Kang and Kitana were ruling over NetherRealm. The location, not the game studio. So these forces were going to clash as the tension and decisions of the previous games were going to come to a head. And then we threw all that out the window so we could have a story about time travel. But not like the time travel from 2 games ago. No, this is a different time travel story that, Okay, despite the fact that the plot of this game is a bit repetitive and just drops a huge storyline from the end of the last game, this story mode is actually great and is easily the best in any Mortal Kombat game. Not only does it look amazing with some of the best graphics I've seen in a fighting game, but the design and the set pieces are so much bigger than in any other story mode, and the voice acting is excellent. Except for one noticeable addition, which, oh boy, yeah, I won't name who it is, but you play this thing for more than 10 minutes and it will become obvious who I'm talking about. But everything else about the presentation of this story is amazing. And as for the story mode itself, this is meant to be one part a celebration of the history of these characters and one part a celebration of how far they've come. One part a look back and one part a step forward, all the while serving as something of an ending to one of the chapters of this series while leading into something brand new. That was a whole lot of buzzwords that really didn't mean anything, but it's about as many details as I can go into without spoiling anything. But I think that if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, this story is an amazing entry into its history and gives us more depth to these characters than we've ever seen before, because they use the time travel element as a way to show how far these characters have come. Seeing the young, confident Jax spliced against his older self who is struggling with a life that's falling apart, or the cocky, douchey young Johnny Cage butting heads with his older, mature self, seeing the relationship of the modern Scorpion and Sub-Zero while being reminded of the demon Scorpion used to be, it really makes you appreciate how far these characters have progressed. We did a spoiler talk on this where we went into way more detail, so I won't repeat everything I said there, but as someone who wants to see characters in games grow and develop over the course of several entries, this story mode really made me appreciate that. So the combat is great. The story is one of the best that we've ever gotten in this series. So what could the mystery third part of this review be?
If you want to know about the next part of this review, then all you have to do is trade in 15,000 coins. That will get you this review logo. Take the review logo to the collector inside the crypt on days that begin with an S between 4 and 8 a.m. Trade that in for the next 2 minutes of this review. Or you can go to the towers, and in the next 2 hours, you can find the rest of this review. It's this.
So, over the past few installments of NetherRealm games, their tower system of having continuously updating series of fights built around themes that provide you with various rewards has become something that audiences have come to expect, and for some of us is the main reason why we even buy these games. And in Injustice 2, they introduced a new customization element for these characters that I personally loved, and I know I'm not alone in that. And with Mortal Kombat 11, they've decided to bring the customization element into this series and merge it with the towers and the crypt. So, you took something that people loved from the previous Mortal Kombat games, merged it with something that people loved from Injustice 2, that's a recipe for double love. That sounds like the double stuffed Oreo of video games. Yeah, this is a mess. A big mess. Now, I already did a video talking about the problems with all this when it was released, and I will give the team behind this game a lot of credit, because in the weeks since its release, they have worked hard to readjust several of the problems that people had. When this game first came out, it could take you hours to earn the amount of currency that you would need to open even just a handful of chests in the crypt. And to earn that currency, you would have to play through towers which were flat out broken. I saw a lot of high-level players on Twitch saying that these towers were impossible when they were first released. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that NetherRealm Studios work their employees for hundreds of hours a week for months on end, exhausting them to the point where there was no way that they could even test these things to see if they were playable. Not to mention, apparently, people who worked on this game were actually diagnosed by doctors with PTSD because in addition to staying up for days on end to work on this game, the higher-ups at NetherRealm demanded that their employees look at real footage of people dying to make sure that these fatalities were accurate.
Yeah, I don't have a follow-up for that. I just feel it's important to remind people that actually happened and we shouldn't forget about it.
Listen guys, I promise you, when I give my score at the end of all this, I am going to judge just the quality of the game itself, and I am not going to let these stories about the production of the game influence my overall rating. However, if I did have to give a score to the production of this game, it would be a 2 out of 10. And if you're wondering why it's not a 1 out of 10, it's because, hey, they're still better than Riot, or EA, or Konami, or Gearbox. Wow, there's a lot of terrible studios working in the game industry right now. But despite the horrendously rocky start the towers had, they did eventually fix them? Again, I did a long, just ridiculously long video on the problems with the grind to unlock everything in this game. And while it is much better than it was when this game first came out, many of the complaints I had in that video still stand. So rather than repeating them all, here's some bullet points. Just like in Injustice and Mortal Kombat X, you'll go up against a series of towers fighting through various opponents, while stage hazards specific to that tower will change the balance of the game. And you'll obtain rewards for each tower that you complete, as well as for various other objectives that you meet along the way, and then you'll receive an overall reward when you complete all the towers in one system. Except that in here, they've altered it so almost every stage hazard will only affect you and not your opponent. Meaning that you're already starting out at a disadvantage in every single one of these towers. However, you will now be rewarded with consumables. Items that you can use in each match to try and either even out the odds or even give you an advantage. Now, in addition to consumables, you'll also win coins, souls, and hearts depending on how well you do in the match. You can use these in the crypt to unlock additional items, such as more consumables, costumes, customizable gear, augmentations, and much more. Now, this sounds pretty fine, right? Yeah, here's the problem people are having with this. There are so many costumes and gears and augmentations and intros and outros and brutalities that you have to unlock that it can take you hundreds of hours to get them all. Hell, it could take you hundreds of hours just to unlock the one costume or item that you want to unlock for the character that you've been using because it's all random. And I know what you might be saying. What's so wrong with it taking you a long time to unlock everything? Doesn't that mean that you'll get more playtime out of it? Yes, Giving you more to do in a game, especially in terms of single player content that you can do on your own, that's a great thing for your game. But let's compare that to, say, Smash Bros. Ultimate from last year, which had over 1,000 spirits, almost 70 fighters, Mii costume parts, songs, and so much more that you had to unlock. That game had a ton to get, but here's the thing. If I wanted a spirit, I saw that spirit, fought that spirit, I got that spirit. The end. In Mortal Kombat 11, if I see a costume that I want in the towers, I have to finish the first tower, made up of several fights. So that would then get me consumables, and those consumables might help me in the next tower, which I will then have to go into and battle through several other fights, and when I'm done with that, I will get even more consumables, which might be able to help me in the next tower, which I will then have to fight through so I can get more consumables that might help me in the next tower, and then when all those fights are done, I will then get the costume that I want. And in all fairness, many of the towers don't just have costumes to unlock. They might have a costume and up to 3 pieces of customizable gear, which means that in about an hour of going through these towers, I would get about 8 prizes. Again, compare that to Injustice 2. NetherRealm's last game that used this customizable gear system. In that game, you would sometimes get specific items for characters in the towers, but you would mostly get mother boxes, which, yes, are just loot boxes with a fancy new name on them, and everyone hates loot boxes, right? Well, here's the thing. After an hour of playing through Mortal Kombat 11, not only would I get the character-specific items that I could unlock by doing the towers, but I could also end up getting anywhere between 10 and 15 different loot boxes, each of which would have between 2 and 6 different items for these characters. Now, compare that to Mortal Kombat 11, where after doing the towers for an hour, I would get maybe about 8 items for these characters. So, just doing some real quick math on that, from one game to the next, NetherRealm went from giving us over 40 items an hour to 8, and then maybe a few more if we got lucky. Are you starting to understand why some people see this as a problem? Giving your customers a lot to do in single player and a lot to unlock is typically a great thing. But you have to know the correct rate to give them these rewards. You have to know the time and energy to prize ratio. And this one requires way too much of those first 2 and not enough of the second. And someone might be saying, yeah, okay, you only get 8 prizes an hour, but you also get those 3 currencies that you can then use to unlock items in the crypt. Sure. I mean, maybe. Whereas before, the crypt was laid out in a specific way, this time the crypt is completely random, which they did to ensure that people couldn't just go online and instantly find out where the item they wanted was, so that way it would encourage them to play longer to get more currencies to go through more boxes. And again, it can take you a long time to get all the currency that you need to open all these boxes, and there are more items to unlock in the crypt then there is space for items in the crypt. So after you deplete the crypt, you'll have to go to a special item and pay coins to restock some of the boxes. That's right, in order to get the boxes to come back, you have to spend money so you can then spend more money to open those boxes again. And you'd think that once you restock it, they'd still be filled with all the skins and gear that you're looking for, right? Nope. Each time that you restock these boxes, the odds of them contain consumables or recipe items, another item that I haven't even mentioned yet because they are so worthless they're not even worth bringing up, goes up. Meaning that the skins and gear that you really want become even rarer. So when you start exploring the crypt, the time and energy to prize ratio, it isn't great, it's okay. But each time that you have to restock the crypt, that ratio gets worse, until eventually, it really doesn't seem worth it, and rather than restocking the boxes, I'd just go over to the slot machine and dump all my coins into it. Yes, you heard correctly. There is a slot machine in the crypt that you can just dump all your money into, which isn't fun in any way, but at least you get better items out of it. So that's the real problem with these towers in the crypt. Sure, the crypt looks amazing and it's loaded with Easter eggs and mythology and lore that any big fan of Mortal Kombat would love to explore. And the towers themselves, yes, they were broken when they first came out, but now they function, so if you want something to do in single player, hey, these work. but if you want the rewards, it doesn't really feel worth it. I've heard people comparing these unlockables to the prizes you get in Overwatch. You work for an hour to maybe get something that you want and tons of stuff that you don't. But I got news for you. As someone who plays a lot of Overwatch, Overwatch is better than this. Because at least in Overwatch, you can spend the coins that you get to just unlock whatever you want. And at least when you start Overwatch, it is kind of fun getting the random crap, even if it's not great. In here, even when I started the game, whenever I got a consumable, I just looked at it like, oh, thanks.
Hey, don't throw your garbage down here.
But I will say, at least there is a fairly easy way to grind for all this currency. Just put your character in autopilot and let the game play itself. And now, Thorgis Pro Strats for unlocking content in Mortal Kombat 11.
Erased from history.
Frost wins.
This has been Thorgis Pro Strats for unlocking content in Mortal Kombat 11. Yeah, that's right. Easiest way to unlock all the stuff in this game is just put your character on autopilot, then occasionally check on it and hit the continue button. I'll admit, after I did this for a few days, I actually found myself saying, you know what? I'm making good progress in this game. I guess the grind's not that bad. And then I had to remind myself, oh, right. I haven't actually been playing the game. I've been editing videos and writing scripts or playing Joker in Smash Bros. And just occasionally hitting the continue button. That's not really a game and I'm not really having fun. Seriously, it's very odd how much of this game is almost designed to encourage you to not actually play it. Heck, there's even a mode where you can just have your customized character go and fight another player's customized character in an AI battle, meaning that it's designed for you to not even touch the controller, and there are specific rewards that you can only get in the game by doing that. Yeah, does anyone enjoy that? Does anyone feel good about just letting their robot fighter do the job for them while you leave to make a sandwich? I mean, when the best thing that I can say about the grind in this game is you can let the computer do it for you, that's not really a selling point.
It's true, we did provide you with years of content, and you're welcome for that. However, to the people out there who might have a problem with this, I'd just like to remind everyone that all of this is done with in-game currency. These are not actual microtransactions. You do not have to spend any real-world money. Yeah, okay, you have a point. I guess that's true. Wait, what's that over there in the corner? Oh, that's the in-game store, where you can use time shards to buy various items that change every single day. How do I get time shards? I'm glad you asked. You see, you earn 10 time shards every single time that you level up just by playing the game. It's one of the many ways that we've decided to reward you just for having fun. But, hold on. One skin costs 500 time shards. I've been playing this thing for weeks and I barely earned that much through leveling up. And every single day you're going to give me 5 more to buy? Oh, well, don't worry about that. You see, if you need just a few more time shards in order to top yourself off, you can always purchase more of them right there in the shop. It's so convenient. So, you can spend money in the game. Sure, but it's not mandatory. You see, every single thing that you can buy with the time shards can be unlocked somewhere else within the game. Yeah, but it's random. It could take me years to find it in the crypt or in the towers. That's right, so you might want to get back to searching through that crypt right now. Or, you know, you could fork over $5 and get that thing right now immediately. I'm not going to tell you how to play through the game, but, tick-tock, those things aren't going to be here forever. Wait, hold on. Did you actually make the grind in this game as hard as it is on purpose? So that way people would be so desperate they would spend money in the store that they wouldn't have spent otherwise? What? No, why would we ever do something like, hey, what's that over there? I feel like I'm being used, but there's nothing I can do about it.
So in the end, the combat is great, the story mode is great, but the towers and the crypt and the unlockables, honestly, they don't feel worth the effort. I will give them credit after they came in here and readjusted them, they became alright. They weren't broken anymore, they were fine, but it never really became fun to me to earn any of the prizes in here. Going up each of these towers, yeah, they provide me with some single player content in here, but I was honestly having more fun actually just fighting other people online, and I'm somebody who always loved the single player content in these games. So, yeah, I am a bit disappointed in that. And what makes it even more disappointing is that, as I said, NetherRealm already had a game with an unlockable gear system and a series of towers that helped you unlock all this stuff just one game ago, and it was great. And it's always kind of a bitter pill to swallow whenever somebody comes in here, takes a thing that's great, changes it around, and now it's fine. But hey, 2 greats and 1 disappointing, that still adds up to an 8 out of 10. I know some people are going to be shocked at how high this score is, especially after how long I complained about the customizables and the crypt and the towers, but that's just because that's what I love most in these games, and it's kind of what I was looking forward to the most, so I can't help but be a little bit upset that they weren't better. But I can still step back and say most of the people out there who are here for the combat or the story, they won't be disappointed. They're going to absolutely love this game. So, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Was I too hard on the currency? Was I not hard enough on the currency? Let me know all that and more down in the comments down below. Or you can find me on Twitter at Thorgis Arcade or on Twitch at Professor Thorgi. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.